Good afternoon, or good morning, or good night, good evening, good day to you, whatever time it is that you see this video, because that's the magic of video. It's a sort of way that your spirit can time travel. I am recording this. I am actually speaking in the past right now, and you are watching this in the future. How far have I sent my spirit forward in the future? I don't know, but you'll get to know, because I can tell you that right now it is Friday, August 7th, 2020 at 4:59 p.m., 16:59 for you non-civilians. I just went to Walgreens, yes. I get the names conflated, Walgreens and Walmart. I know the difference between the stores, but the names I mix up occasionally. Walgreens, the little one, the pharmacy. I went to Walgreens and I picked up two bottles of Captain Morgan. One bottle I got because it was on sale and because I wanted it. The other one I got because I know a girl that has a use for a specific type of bottle, and I will drink it eventually, and it comes in that type of bottle. So I got the big bottle because that's what I was going to get, and then I got a smaller plastic flask-shaped bottle, which will come in handy for storing something or other at a future date for some other person. But either way, I got me a couple of bottles of rum because it's Friday night and I feel like getting lit, as the young kids say. I'm gonna get turned, I think. I don't know. I've never been big on slang. I guess cool used to be slang. I say cool sometimes, so that's what it is. I remember being in high school and like when people started calling each other dog all the time. They'd be like, "What up, dog?" And I'd be like, "Don't fucking call me dog. I'm not your dog, bro." I didn't get it, man. I thought it was an insult. Oh, how the turntables. I feel, first off, I feel a lot differently about dogs these days than I used to. I was a bit of a sociopath in high school, honestly. It took me several years after getting out of that environment to grow some empathy. So I never really had a connection with dogs. I was never mean to dogs. We had a couple of dogs. I mostly found them to be like, we had a little Boston Terrier who was really cool. He was entertaining. He could, when I was a small child, he could leap over me. And he loved to play with soccer balls. His name was Winston, named after Winston Churchill, I believe. And he was a pretty cool dog. He loved to play with soccer balls, so if you'd hold a soccer ball over your head, he would run and jump and knock the soccer ball out of your hand. It was a pretty cool dog. But when he died, I didn't cry. I didn't form an emotional attachment like that to dogs until my ex-wife got a dog. And I was like, look, it's a very, classic story. Dad doesn't want the dog type of thing. I'm like, look, this dog is going to be your problem. I'm not dealing with it. And I sleep like a log. She is a light sleeper. I assume she's still a light sleeper. I haven't had any contact with her in years now, which is just great. But she was, at the time, a very light sleeper. And so the dog, excuse me, I'm going through puberty, so if you'll excuse my voice cracking occasionally. The dog The dog, the dog, the dog. Let me say the dog a few more times. The dog wanted to sleep in the bed, but it was too tiny. It was a Dachshund. It's a Dachshund, which is not German for the dog, which is what I thought for the longest time. It's German for badger dog, because they train them to hunt badgers. Dachs apparently is badger, and Hund obviously is dog. So, a teenager in a white pickup truck just very nearly collided with me. And look how cool I am. No road rage at all on this one. I must be in a good mood. And Lord knows, when I'm in a good mood, I'm nice to people. I mean, it helps anyways, makes it easier. Requires less energy to be nice to people when I am in a good mood. Why am I in a good mood? I don't know. Because I'm not at work. Because I'm rolling in my automated chariot car. Good air conditioning. It was wintertime in Tucson, Arizona when I bought this vehicle. And the salesman who sold it to me got all weird when I tried out the air conditioning. He's like, oh, I guess we want to be polar bears. And I was like, no, dumbass, I'm in Tucson, Arizona, where it routinely tops 110 degrees. I'm not buying a vehicle from you until I test out the air conditioning. So I tested out the air conditioning. And it turned out the air conditioning worked fine. I think he just was unsure of the status of the air conditioning. And so he acted a little weird about it. But, whatever. I'm very happy with this vehicle. It's a Nissan Pathfinder. And I highly, highly recommend them. It's a good running car. Hasn't given me hardly any problem. I did have a starting issue. I had to replace a relay. Apparently, the fuel pump relay goes out after 18 years and 238,000 miles. You could have a fuel pump relay go out. Whoop-de-whoop. Pretty easy. Man, auto forums are awesome. The fact that we have access to everybody that's ever had a car problem just by searching, the year, make, and model of your car and the problem that it has, and then you come to a car forum and there's somebody that's already had this problem. It's fantastic. I want to make a big sensation. Anyways, I feel like I had started a story. Oh, right, the Dachshund, the Dachshund, the wiener dog. His name was George. I didn't get to name him because he wasn't going to be my dog. But George liked to sleep in bed. George liked to move around a lot. George woke up Shelly a lot. And Shelly would wake me up. So after a couple nights of this, I decided that I wasn't gonna, I value my sleep. I consider myself somewhat a master at sleeping. I can sleep just about anywhere, just about any time, in just about any conditions. I can generally fall asleep in the time it takes to count to 300 and then count back from 300 to 0. And that's actually the technique that I use for falling asleep, and it works quite well most of the time. I like to think it's because I don't have a lot weighing on my conscience. I don't have a lot of inhibitions. I don't really do guilt and regret. I take a fatalistic view of the past, I take an optimistic view of the future, and I take a realistic view of the present. And I try to stay in the present as much as possible, and when I'm tired, I sleep, if possible. When I'm tired, I sleep unless I have something going on that I can't sleep through. So I wanted to sleep through the night because at the time I had a job that required me to be up early and to go in early, and so not sleeping through the night and therefore needing to sleep or nap or whatever the next day was not really a very good option. So I decided I was going to take the little dog, and I was going to hold him, hold on loosely, but not let go. Didn't want to cling too tightly for fear that I might lose control. Actually, for fear that I would squish the poor thing and give him a bad experience. I didn't have anything against the dog. It's just I had decided that, a dog wasn't really something I had time for or energy for. So they were supposed to take care of it. And we always know how that's going to turn out. But I digress. I would hold the dog, and then if he would try to get away, I would hold him a little more tightly. And then once he would relax and stop trying to escape, then I would loosen my grip. And then eventually he settled into, he accepted his fate that, okay, this is where I'm staying, apparently, for the night. I'm not, whatever. And then he would start sleeping with me. He would put his head right on my arm, right there. He would go to sleep, and I would go to sleep, and that was that. And when you sleep with a creature, you form an emotional attachment. At least I do. So that was the first dog that I ever really formed an emotional attachment to. And when he died, it sucked a lot. Took a day off work and everything. Also found out that my brother had cancer that day. Turned out it wasn't cancer, but it did end up taking him out. So it was a bad day. That was one of the worst days of my life. But I'm still here, so whatever. Let's see if we can come up with anything more depressing to talk about than my my dog and my brother that are no longer with us. Hold on. Okay, so one of my favorite part of rabbit trails is retracing the rabbit trail. Retracing. I always forget about my hand motions and how they need to be in this tight little area in order for them to be seen on screen. Retracing the rabbit trail. We had gone off on 3 tiers of story. We'd come back to the Dachshund, but the reason for the Dachshund was because I remember that once upon a time I used to get insulted when people would say, "What's up, dog?" to me, and I would be like, "I'm not a dog, man." But now I say it all the time. I routinely greet people that way. "What's up, dog?" And there's 2 reasons behind that, and one of them is that I'm just not as uptight as I used to be, and one of them is that I have a very different opinion of dogs now than I did when I was in high school. I no longer feel that humans are superior to dogs. I like dogs better than I like most people. And I know that that's a cliche at this point, but it's also the truth, as Will Smith would say. The truth. Welcome to Earth. It's my favorite part of Men in Black. Yeah, when he's an Air Force pilot and he's being chased through the canyons by the spaceship, and he finally outruns the spaceship and it runs into the canyon wall, and that's how he's finally able to defeat it, through superior piloting skills. And then he pulls the alien out of the hull and he punches him in the face and goes, "Welcome to Earth." It's great. It's fantastic. And for the record, what's happened to him has been awful lately, and I don't appreciate all the jokes. I know you can joke about anything, but Jesus Christ, kick a man when he's down, what did Will Smith do to anybody other than make some great movies? I Am Legend wasn't as good as the book, but what movie's as good as the book? It was good. iRobot, fantastic. Men in Black, I don't care what you have to say about Men in Black 2 or any of it. All of the whole franchise is wonderful as far as I'm concerned. It's a wonderful world of aliens, and I love it. So, leave Will Smith alone. I got nothing bad to say about the guy. I don't know him personally. If any of you were wondering if I actually hang out with Will Smith, I don't. I've never met him. Never even met him at a meet and greet. But I do like his work. And now I'm wondering why it was that I was talking about slang in the first place. Oh, it's because I was talking about getting drunk. And I was trying to use terms, and I'm afraid that I may have used some of the terms inaccurately. I believe that I said I was going to get lit and or turnt. And I believe that I am going to get lit and or turnt. And I'm fairly certain that I've actually used these terms accurately, but I am not a slang aficionado. Unfortunately, I have many various and sundry skills, but slang efficiency is not one of them. There's a girl I know. I told you, puberty, my voice. There's a girl I know, and she actually, it is weird. I don't know why my voice is cracking so much. It's probably because of all the dust. My sinuses and my lungs and my throat don't know how to deal with all of this dust in New Mexico. I should probably be wearing a mask to keep the dust out. But I don't, because I hate them. I hate the masks. I hate them so much. I don't believe in them. I don't believe in it's a conspiracy. I just think it's stupid. But that's neither here nor there. I'm not really good at editing these. I wish that I was, because I would kind of like to edit out the part where I talked about masks, because I'm really not interested in being part of the distraction argument anymore. Our government is full of monsters, and for some reason the news is not reporting that. For some reason, probably because it's owned by the same people that own the government. Power structures, man. I had a guy who was a Christian, raised Catholic, believes in heaven and hell and Jesus. Good guy, oddly enough. But we were having a conversation, and I was like, fucking Christians. And he's like, we're not all bad. I was like, no, you're not all bad. But it's not religion that I have a problem with, honestly. And it's not ideology. Some ideologies are bad, but it's really not even ideologies that I have a problem with. It is power structures, man. And I don't care if your power structure is using the Quran or the Bible or the Torah or I can't pronounce the text, Bhagavad Gita, whatever that Indian text is. Whatever holy book that your power structure is pretending to adhere to, it's the power structure. It's people trying to control people that I don't like. And I don't care if that comes in the form of a government or a church or a corporation. It is a power structure that I have a problem with. I believe in the sanctity of the individual human. I don't believe in your authority to tell me what to do. I don't. I don't care if you're a church or a business or a corporation or a government. I don't respect your authority. I don't. And that's a fact. I think we should all just be cool, man. I think we should all just be cool. I think we have an authority addiction. And I think that if you pulled all the authority, we would go through some theory. I can't speak. We would go through some serious authority withdrawals. If you were to just pull the authority and we were to cut off authority cold turkey. However, I don't really believe that the authority is necessary, strictly speaking. However, let me play Nostradamus here for a minute. I do have a prediction about the future, and it's a hopeful prediction about the future. And hopefully, I will manifest this thing that I am believing in. Hopefully that this belief in this prediction will be a grappling hook that I can shoot into the future in order to pull myself into the particular universe in the multiverse where this actually comes to pass. What I believe is going to happen, key things, what I truly believe is going to happen, and let the record state that I am saying this under no duress and under no influence of any chemicals other than I think I have had an energy drink this morning, which counts. Let me give you some background on why I think this is how the future goes down. I was thinking about the government, and I know that I've never been a big fan, and I've been a fairly vocal detractor of government, and basically an anarchist. The problem with being a real anarchist is that if you are an anarchist, you don't believe in telling people what to do, which means you don't actually have the ability to overthrow the government without being a hypocrite, because if people are trying to be a government and you go to stop them, you are imposing your will on them, therefore trying to tell them what to do. And now you're not really an anarchist, you're a hypocrite. So if you're really an anarchist, you're not burning things and blowing things up. That's not what anarchy is, really. It's just that I don't believe in telling people what to do. So I got lost in the sauce there for a moment. Right, the future. I was thinking about the government, and I was like, so what is good about the government? Because I always like to look on the bright side of life. Doo-doo, 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 doo-doo. And I thought, what is good about the government? What is it that the government is doing that I actually approve of? Like, what do I need the government for? And it's not what you think. It's not schools. It's not roads. It's not keeping the peace. There's one thing and one thing only that I appreciate our government for. And that is the fact that the American government does a decent job of keeping the Chinese government out of my life and the Russian government out of my life. So I'm a big fan of the United States government keeping foreign governments from interfering with my life, which they do a fairly good job of. Possibly the only thing they do a fairly good job of. But they do a fairly good job of that. So, the future, as I see it, and I don't believe I'm going to see this come to pass. I don't believe I'm going to see it come to pass, but I do think that this is where we are going as a species. There is going to be, eventually, one world government. One world language and one world government. Hopefully all the other languages don't die off, because there's something sad about that. But eventually we're all going to be speaking the same language. Sort of a reverse Tower of Babel effect is going to happen. There will be one world government and there will be one language. And then eventually, the only true need for a government, which is to keep other governments from taking you over, is gone. The government will simply fade out of existence. Now, we're probably talking about thousands of years for this to happen. And it's also possible that either we will invent AI that radically changes the way that the world works to the point where this never happens, or we nuke ourselves out of existence. That might happen as well. Either of those things could do it. But if we don't nuke ourselves out of existence, and if AI doesn't change the way things are to a point that it's unrecognizable, then what will happen is there will be a one world government, and then that government will just fade away. So when the government fades away, it's going to be very, very slow. It'll just be sort of people being less interested in, as we evolve, as a species, as a society, people just being a little bit less interested in giving people a hard time. I don't know if the laws will be repealed per se, but one day, slowly but surely across the world, officers will just not be as vigorous pursuing traffic tickets, and mayors and governors will be putting on a little bit less pressure about keeping up quotas with those types of things. And eventually, all substances will be legal, and traffic violations won't really be pursued to that point. Everybody's going to be getting off with a warning, and then eventually, people are just going to stop showing up to these things, and things are just going to stop getting enforced, like little by little. Basically, the government's just going to get really lazy until it fades away. And then about 3 generations after the last act of government happens, when the president shows up to work and realizes he's the only member of government left, and that everybody else is sitting on a beach smoking weed and sipping margaritas, and he's like, you know what, I'm done. I'm done playing president. This is silly. Everybody's fine. They don't need me to lead them. And about 3 generations after that, somebody's going to wake up and be like, holy shit, we used to have governments that told people like how fast they could drive and what they could put in their bodies and what surgical procedures were legal, and what commodities they could grow, and whether or not they could collect rainwater. And they're like, that was an insane time, and they're going to write a book about it. And then that book's going to come out, and everybody's going to be like, gee, governments, man, that was wild. Let's never do that again. And I truly believe that is the future if we don't kill ourselves off with nuclear weapons, biological weapons, or artificial intelligence first. I can't think of a possible way to end on a stronger note. I'm going to call this video completo.